All right. Greetings and salutations to the 310 tribe. I don't know how I got stuck saying that. I just started saying that at the very beginning, Josh, like a couple of years ago or whatever, and it's just something I say now. Now, if I don't say it, I get yelled at.
Yeah,
So, how have you been?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm real good. And greetings to the 310 tribe too. I
Yeah.
remember I
So,
remember setting up I remember setting up the Rep 310 website with you like
I
5 years
know
ago
that
or
was
something, 10 years ago.
for folks who don't know, Josh is one of my oldest friends, and so there's him and one other guy, and that's it. Like I was just doing the math earlier. I think you and I met in what 2001 or 2002?
It would have
2000.
been yeah, like 2002, I think.
Yeah, so 23 years, man. We've known
It's
each
been a
other a
hot
long
minute.
time. You knew
Hot
me
minute.
back in you knew me back in my prodigal days, man. I was a wild child.
Yes, you were.
We're gonna we're gonna we're gonna keep this G rated here. So
Yeah, yeah.
I found this uh photo. Let me see if I can add it here.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was in
Chinchan. You're like
Chuncheon.
snowboarding in Chinchan, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I snowboarded because I don't know how to snowboard and I'm terrible at that. I can ski, but I can't snowboard. But I think I tried. I think you tried to talk me into it, and I was like, dude, I've never snowboarded. You're like, come on, don't be a wimp. And I went out there and I looked like an idiot the whole time. So, and then the other one was this is one of my favorite pictures is
Oh
me, you,
yeah,
and Amy at the my most favorite restaurant in Korea was the Beef and Leaf.
yeah. And
And
that
for
Korean
those
Korean barbecue.
Yeah, this place it doesn't look like much, but the food was amazing. And so they had this like they bring out these big plates of like raw meat, and right in the middle, I'm pointing my mouse here. I don't think you can see the mouse, but right in the middle, underneath that silver, what is that, an exhaust fan or whatever,
Yeah,
is
like go
like
ahead.
yeah, where the meat would cook. Man, the rice and then the red bean paste
Red bean
and
paste and the leaves, the lettuce, and all the
what
little
was
veggies.
what was the clear noodles that they had?
Japchae. We had japchae, and they would
Japchae.
bring out kimchi and all the
Yeah.
good stuff. Yeah.
Dude, that place was legit. I love that. I love that restaurant, and you can't find it anywhere else in the world. I think that's probably the only place in the world you can find it. No other place had it. Like just had that good taste that they had. I mean, even in Seoul and other places, you just couldn't find anything that compared to it. So
Yeah.
it's good times. Good times.
Yeah. The beef and leaf. And then we used to go, what was that little dessert place we used to go to? That had all the little cakes and
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
You know what I'm talking about.
you bought the coffee right, and then you got the
Yeah.
free pie, or you bought the pie and got the coffee or whatever.
Got the
Yeah, that
cop.
place
Yeah.
was.
It was like a little espresso shot and it was a fancy little like cake or dessert. We always used to either go to the beef and leaf or the duck kalbi place, and then we would go get the go hit the coffee and dessert. Yeah, that was a good
The
time.
Colby, man, we used to have that. We had that saying, the IDF, in the
Yeah,
impending
impending
Colby
duck
failure.
kalbi failure. Yeah, the kalbi is
For
like a big like finger size like rice noodles that were covered in this like super hot red pepper stuff, and then it was like chicken, like very spicy chicken, and these big rice noodles that look like cheese sticks.
oh man,
It was good.
but I used to hate going there because it never failed. Like within about 10 minutes out
Okay.
of walking out of that place, you were heading straight for a bathroom, like the first bathroom you could find. So it was
Yes.
good, but it was cleansing, right? We could say it was
Yeah.
cleansing.
Yeah. You get juice cleanse and a Dakabi cleanse.
And I blame you for my first night in Korea, or my first night in Chuncheon. I guess it was my first night in Korea when you took me to get kegogi.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I can tell anybody what kegogi is, but they can
And
figure it out on their own.
they can look it up in Chat GPT.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Chat GPT, dude, who would have thought that? I know you and I've had conversations over the years, but like, who would have? I mean, not even in our wildest dreams would we have thought about, I don't know, like, I guess, when did smartphones come out? Like, when did the Apple
Two,
iPhones and stuff?
2008 was the first iPhone.
2008. So in 2004 or 2002, when I knew you, I mean, did you know about any of that stuff? You were like, you went to one of those technology colleges and stuff, or
Yeah, I don't think I saw a smartphone coming. Um, I remember like when we were in Korea in '02, the big thing was, uh, you leave the US and everything is like you're paying with a card or cash. And, in Korea, you could just like tap your phone. And that was,
yeah,
remember that? You could pay with
yeah.
the NFT. And that was a big deal. Like we were like, oh man, the US is so far behind. And, these guys could just tap to pay. And that was the thing over there in 2003.
Yeah, they're way ahead of us in terms of the new world order. I think they're like right as soon as that whatever the mark of the beast system comes out, man, they're just going to be lining up because they're just so conditioned as a civilization just to accept whatever the government hands them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I the thing about Korea that I there's a lot of things I loved about it, and there's some things that just drove me insane. The thing that drove me insane the most out of anything, aside from traffic, I mean, driving there is a nightmare. Is like if you would be in a line, here for the subway, and you like leave your normal American space between you and the next person, which is
Yeah, man.
generally about one person. And
Yeah,
man, these little Ajimos, man, they'll come. These old ladies would come in, and if there was a space between you and the person in front of you, they were cutting right in that space.
yeah. For me, the thing that always like you talk about American space, their whole concept of personal space is just so
Mm.
different. And like I'll never forget riding home on a train once from Seoul back to Chuncheon. And we had gone down to Seoul to go drinking and partying and I'm riding home. And for whatever reason, I was by myself and I'm on this train car and the whole train is empty. Like the whole train car is empty. And it's just me. And this Alajima gets on the train and comes over and sits. The whole thing, there's 100 empty seats, and she comes and she sits right next to me. And that's just it's like culturally, like that's the thing to do, but it'd be like being in the bathroom, and there's all these urinals, and the guy comes over and it like goes to the one right next to you, and it's like the American culture thing is like, what are you doing, man? And then she's like, of course they're so friendly, and she's like trying to offer you like some dried squid, and you're like, oh no, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, it was a huge. I think it was. I don't know. It was a couple of years ago when they had that stampede there in Seoul. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, this was. Man, it was just like 23 or 22, but right in Itaewon, where the big party district was, where you and I and
Yeah.
a bunch of soldiers go every weekend. We'd gone all up and down that place. Well, that hill, there was that. Uh, there was one of those shops, the juicy bars or whatever. But the general, I remember that was the particular one because one of the generals had got caught using his
Travel
government
card.
travel card in that juicy bar. And anyways, but that's that same alleyway. And for
Yeah.
some reason, it was one of these holidays. I can't remember if it was New Year's. It must have been New Year's, or maybe like the Korean New Year's or whatever. But I mean, the streets were just jam packed, and the streets weren't closed. There was still traffic, so all the foot traffic was condensed to the sidewalks and to the alleyways and stuff. And somebody had started a stampede, and like 50 people got crushed in this,
Oh
like
my
maybe
gosh.
50 or 60. Yeah, yeah. Go look it up. It was just a couple of years ago. But we'd been on that same alleyway like dozens of times, and it's weird
Yeah.
how things like that happen, and you have such, I don't want to say fond memories. I think probably don't remember much of that time period, but like you remember at least being a somewhat pleasant experience or whatever, and then now some horrible tragedy happened there on top of it. It just seems
Yeah.
it seems surreal, in a way.
Yeah, I just saw on the news, there's a mall in New York and they had one of those, I don't know what they call it, but where the like just the mobs of like teenage kids like run through the mall and they basically just like raid all the stores and steal from people. And um like we were just there like a week ago, shopping for our youngest, birthday. He wanted to go to like the Dick's Sporting Goods and get some basketball gear and whatever, and a new pair of tennis shoes. And like we were literally just in the mall, and then I don't know if it was today or yesterday that they had one of those like mobs there, and I was, man, like crazy. It
Yeah,
was just there.
yeah. No, that is wild, and it seems like I know that every generation's had problems. Like I know that there was problems in the 20s and the 30s, and it just seems like it seems like things have been so like complexified. That's a word I've coined, complexified. I don't know if anybody else has, but things are complex, but it's complex in an unnecessary way. It's like it's just like unnecessarily complex. Like we just keep
Yeah,
adding complexities to this world, and at the same time, it's like it's like four escalators going up, right? So you're standing at the bottom of these escalators and you see these four escalators. And one escalator is technology is becoming more complicated. And this other escalator is that society is degenerating. This other one is, weapons of mass destruction. This other one is social media or the news or misinformation or whatever. And it's just like we're like at the top of this thing now, and it's just across the board. It's just everything is getting commensurably harder and more difficult and more anxiety producing and more just on and
yeah.
on and on. I
I was
I don't know
I
how
was
people do it without Jesus.
you mentioned anxiety producing, and I was reading, there was a study that recently came out. I'll have to see if I can find it and send it to you. But they basically said like, back long, 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 like, way back, I don't want to say caveman times, but caveman times, like way before any kind of technology, um, when you just had basically predators and people, right? We might have a single like stress inducing event, like being chased by a lion or something like that. Uh, like, 2 to 5 times in a lifetime, right? And this research that I was reading was saying that, um, with the advent of technology, right, and like getting exposed to the 24-hour news cycle and getting exposed to, all these traumas and these things that are happening around the world and terrorist attacks and uh, and even like online bullying and things like that, that the average person experiences more stress and anxiety from in a single day now than someone did in an entire lifetime. And so now we wonder like why we have like stress and PTSD issues and all these things. And it's our brains weren't designed to handle this continuous stream of just like anxiety and tension and stress. And you gotta like disconnect, unplug, and um,
Yeah, dude,
go
that's
outside and touch grass.
yeah. I love that saying, and it's so true though. I mean, your body needs to touch grass. It absolutely needs to, but it reminds me of that passage in Luke. It says in Luke 21:25, and there will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and on the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, and the sea and the waves roaring, and men's
Mm.
hearts failing them from fear and the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. And that's kind of talking from a kind of an apocalyptic, celestial cosmic sense, but like we look at just how much more complicated our lives are today, even than say 5, 10 years ago. And especially, back in those pictures you and I took in 2004 or whatever, how simple life was. And yet, it feels very much like the frog in the pot kind of thing, where the water now has gotten to the point where it's starting to become uncomfortably it's
Yeah.
becoming uncomfortable, and we've noticed that it's becoming uncomfortable. And I think what that is necessarily is this idea that we were on the precipice as a civilization of radical change to the way things are. And I think that's, in a way, it's kind of we're at that tension point right now, and something's going to give. And the things that made the 20th century successful, the banking systems, the financial systems, the military structure, the geopolitical structures, all of that have become unraveled, and it's happening very quickly on all those different fronts. And then on the other side, we have technology just racing ahead at
Oh
a
yeah.
speed, a galloping ahead. And you've got all these people on this side, like Ray Kurzweil and Klaus Schwab and all these guys saying, hey, we're going to do this great reset. We're going to fundamentally transform the way we live on the earth, and you'll own nothing and be happy. And they're coming out with all these kind of crazy uh, dystopian type of like statements, things that would have never flown, as respectable by any kind of respectable organization would have never said anything like that in the last, say, 20 years ago. And now it's just like they're throwing it out there like it's these new slogans like build back better or whatever,
Mm.
kind of these empty platitudes that can mean anything. And so when they have something like the Great Reset, and that's being trumped up by the United Nations, by the World Economic Council or Forum, dozens of mega, top 100, top 500 organizations, and all these NGOs, and I mean, it's just a massive armada of like movement of different types of organizations that are all embracing this idea of this radical change. And part of that radical change is the United States is not at the top of the food chain anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we have, regardless of what people think of Trump, I mean, the guy has endured this in a tremendous amount of political persecution for at least the last 9 years. And now he's coming back in this like last ditch effort to try and save this nation. But I feel like we're on this kind of um, uh, path that we can't get off of anymore. This irreversible pathway that there's nowhere to turn off, and we're just kind of being forced to go in this direction. And that to me is like all this digital currency, not necessarily Bitcoin, but the central bank digital currencies and all those kinds of
Yeah.
things
The digital dollar. Yeah. Yep.
that Trump is going to get put in this crisis where he has really no option but to turn to some type of a digital solution, which kind of to not now though, like, because now and even in the last month or two, he said things like, I want to abolish the IRS. I want to get rid of income tax. Well, if you go to a fully digital system, you don't really need that separate income tax, because whatever the government needs to take out, it's just going to automatically take out its
Yeah.
cut from a digital system. So in a way, he's right. You don't need an IRS or anything like that. But
Right. And
um,
the blockchain gives you that traceability for every transaction. And so theoretically an AI or a system could basically figure out like, how much income you received and what taxes due without you ever having to like file papers and do all that other stuff. So
mhm.
yeah, the blockchain would facilitate that for sure.
you know, I was in Belfast, North Ireland, a couple weeks ago, and we were getting a ride from Pastor Gary from he picked us up from the airport, and we're driving to the like Airbnb that we're staying at, and he was showing us the traffic cameras on the side of the road. And I'm used to seeing those. I mean, most countries in the world do that now. Saudi Arabia, they did it, and others. But he goes, yeah, you have the camera here, and you can slow down and be at the right speed. But if I make it to the next camera,
Camera,
that
yeah,
speeding, that camera
it
will
figures
automatically
out,
calculate how fast I
yeah,
was speeding to get to the. And so if they can do that for like all these cameras, I mean, come on, they can totally just like whatever they want to do with the banking system. Like, I mean, if
Yeah.
they, I know these are two different, completely unrelated things, but if they have the technology to calculate something like speeding, I mean, come on, it's how much more important
Oh,
is the
it's
money thing?
yeah. Well, and they already have the tech to do it. And I mean, I don't know how it is in Texas, um, but the entire northeastern corridor is all toll roads, and they've got the things, and everybody's got a transponder in their cars because nobody even stops to pay for tolls anymore. It's all e-tolling, and they can do the same thing with the toll tags. They can figure out how fast we're driving, and then they could just start mailing tickets if they wanted to. I mean, yeah, it wouldn't be hard.
Would you say that because you've lived in DC and you've lived in, now you're up in New York, but would you say that from DC to New York City or to Boston is one giant city?
Just about, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so because you leave DC, you kind of get up to Fredericksburg, and then there's a little stretch between like Fredericksburg and when you kind of you cross through this little bit of Delaware, and then you're like into New Jersey, and it gets a little open, but maybe it's only an hour or so, and then it turns right back into suburbs, and then you're suburbs going all the way up into Philly, and you go through Philly, and then there's another little maybe 45-minute to an hour stretch where it's kind of open, and then you're into New York, and yeah, it's and then the same thing going to Boston. Boston's a little more. You leave New York once you get past like Westchester, or Danbury, Connecticut, then it's uh, Springfield's pretty small, and it's not too built up, but yeah, it's the equivalent of you remember San Antonio, right? And it used to be like you left San Antonio, drive to Austin, and there was nothing. New Braunfels was this like gas station. Now it's connected, right? You got Cibolo, Shirts, New Braunfels, Buda, all the way, and it's just one big city now. That whole I-35 corridor. It's amazing, the sprawl.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
they call it a megalopolis, which is kind of a weird name, but um, a friend of mine and I are pondering whether or not that constitutes Mystery Babylon, but that's for another discussion. I don't want to throw that on your lap, but it just seems like all those cities are like just like growing into each other.
Yeah, I
But
think the just going back to like the cities and kind of the the second thing that you mentioned, right, which was the decline of civilization, and you think about like you look at like Rome, and you look at Greece, and you look at all these big empires and how long they lasted and how they fall, and it's always the kind of straying away from the core values, the homosexuality, the like a lot of these things where it it gets to this kind of fever pitch, and that's like right before the end of these major um you know at that time geopolitical world powers, through all these different eras of history, and you could make a case that it definitely has the feeling like that is
mm,
approaching, right? Like we're kind of getting into that space where it's just like everything is so just bizarre.
I think 2020 really cemented in people's minds that the way things are not the way things are always going to be, and who would have thought that everything would have shut down? I mean, you and I mean, being in related to Army Medical Department for many years, we were always kind of briefed up on pandemics and the threats, especially if we're deploying and you're having to get the country threat briefing, what diseases are popular or common there and things like that.
Yeah.
um, but I never thought. that things would shut down the way they did, like that completely. And that, I mean, not just in America, but everywhere. Like that was mind boggling. And
My, my COVID experience was the opposite of everyone else's, where everyone else was stuck inside. I was commanding an army hospital, and so
yeah.
I was I was gone. I was like, go, go, go. We're moving all around the country, going from hospital to hospital, and briefing all these people. I'm in all these rooms, and constantly with all these different politicians and leaders. And so my like COVID experience was like I was never stuck inside the whole time. I wasn't even home though, right? I was just like go, go, go. So it was sort of an inverse experience for me. It was probably one of the busiest and most active periods of my Army career.
it was weird for me. I mean, I had just retired. You were there. I mean, I had retired at the end of January. I had that
Yep.
conditional job offer from United to fly for them, and
Yep.
basically I was just time building. Rochelle and I and the family had just got up to Decatur and settled and had closed on a house,
House.
and then just out of the blue, like everything starts shutting down. Then United sends a letter out to all of us saying, "Hey, if you're not already here at the schoolhouse in Houston, don't come." And then right after that, I got an email from the Army, from HRC out of Fort Knox, saying, "Hey, we'd like to invite you back into the to the Army." And I
Just
was telling
kidding.
Rochelle, I was like, I I think I should take this because really everything else is shutting down. I mean, we still need a paycheck, you know.
Yeah.
So that was weird. That was such a weird experience for me. But yeah, who would have thought? Like, who would have thought all of the stuff that's happened since? I mean, you knew me before. Like, I don't know that I was really into this stuff. I was more into like, partying and
You
chasing
were
girls. And,
you were the last person in the world, like literally the last guy in the world that I ever would have thought would have, turned into a Bible thumping, um,
yeah,
and I'll never forget, I came into San Antonio for something, TDY, temporary duty. And I remember we were like, yeah, let's get together. And we were sitting in your car outside the AMED Center in school. And you were blowing my mind talking about, different dispensations and um, all the stuff. And I was like, who are you? Like,
invasions of
yeah,
the body snatchers or something. Yeah,
yeah, just like, dude, like you were like a completely different person. Um, like 100% different. It was like looks the same, sounds the same, walks like a duck, talks like a duck. This ain't the same duck, man.
it's a different duck. Yeah, I had a man. I just had a crazy from the. I guess the last time I saw you was in 2005, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I stayed there with the unit in Korea, and then you went on to
I went to Fort Lewis and then you
Fort Lewis.
guys
Yeah,
you guys had yeah, you stayed and like
but
reflagged and
man, from that moment you left, I think I don't know what month you left, but like, I mean, you got to think about. I had so
I
much stuff jam packed.
yeah, I had left the unit. I'll never forget the timeline because I left on October 31st and the unit got stop lost on like November 2nd or something like that.
Yeah,
And it was like everybody was like, "You're the last man out, man." It was like I missed it by like 2 days, and then that whole unit moved to Fort Campbell from Korea, which and that like never happens where a full unit moves together like that. There was so many weird little
yeah.
events like that along the way.
These are the kinds of things that shape me. That like I don't trust anything anymore. Like I get to Korea. I hated it first, but then you're there, so I got a friend, and you teach me how to ride the trains and kind of just to get around, and then I end up really loving it. So I extend, and then the whole base closes down, and we get locked in the unit, and then for like 6 months, we're like, hey, you're going to Hawaii or Alaska, Hawaii, Alaska, Hawaii, Alaska. So we're looking at apartments in both places, trying to figure out where to live, and trying to keep the family updated. And at the time it was my mom, and I was just saying, hey, I don't know if I'm going to Alaska or Hawaii. And that's what we all thought for the longest time. And then at the
Yeah.
last second, they're like, oh, by the way, you're going to Fort Campbell. We're like, what? Where did that come
Yeah.
from? And then
Kentucky.
and I'm there for, yeah. I mean, God wants me in Kentucky for some reason. This is the third time I've been back here.
All right.
But there's there, it's from there I was there for 6 months, turned around right to Iraq,
Boy,
did a
yeah.
year in Iraq, came back for a year, turned around right to Afghanistan. And oh, by the way, I got, I had my come to Jesus moment there in the September 2007, and then October with Greg's death, and then get married in December, and then I deployed that just a couple
Right
weeks later.
after.
It's been a crazy. I think I've lived
A couple of lives.
a couple of lives already. As many things as
You,
I've had to do, like, and
you,
gone through. I feel like it's tiring.
yeah.
It's exhausting, actually.
You and I both.
You're
Yeah.
you're well, you're almost done. You got, or the missus has got a little bit more.
Yeah, she'll
So
retire in June.
that's good news, man. And it feels good to be out, doesn't it? I love it.
It is amazing. Yes. It is amazing. I was telling somebody else though, like, so I'm actually in Dallas right now for this, for a conference that I'm speaking at, and we had this dinner, faculty dinner with all the speakers, and I'm giving a talk. I already gave a talk on finance, giving another talk on leadership, and then I already gave a talk on AI actually in healthcare, um, and they were asking me about, like, why did I get out? And I said, I think it's Patrick Lencioni has a book where he talks about the three things that people need is autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And I said, in the military, I I was a master of my craft, right? I, you know, rose through the ranks. I had, I've got all the skills, fellow in the American College of Healthcare Executives, I was a pilot in command. I was all like, I had achieved mastery at all these levels. Um, purpose, there's like no greater purpose than, serving, our great nation and, saving lives on the battlefield and, doing all those things. I really felt like, I had great purpose, had mastery, but the one thing I didn't have was autonomy. And man,
Mm,
that the autonomy when you get out, like, my kids play travel competitive sports, and like my daughter, she's on this national level volleyball team, and we're traveling to tournaments, in Atlanta and Dallas and Colorado Springs, Kansas City, Minneapolis, St. Paul. We're hitting all these big things, and as you know, like if you go outside a 200-mile radius, you got to have a whole bunch of paperwork and whatever. And this is like
mhm,
every other weekend we're traveling to like other states, and and I mean, I probably killed, half of the freaking Amazon jungle just filling out lead forms to go to my daughter's, uh, volleyball tournaments. And like, I retired, and I remember like the first tournament came, and I didn't have to ask anybody to go anywhere. Just, you know, get in the car and go. Like, what
mhm.
is this? I feel like I'm doing something, I felt like I was doing
Yeah,
something wrong. I'm like looking around, like, am I gonna get
like
in
you're doing
trouble
something
here?
illegal.
Yeah. I'm like a grown man, I gotta go ask some other man for permission to go to my daughter's, volleyball game. Like, and yeah, just having that autonomy has been life changing for me. It
Yeah.
really
I,
has. It's so liberating.
I like I likened my experience with that was like in Decatur, right? Like we'd always go back there for like the holidays and stuff, for like Christmas and Thanksgiving or whatever. So if we were stationed in Texas or Kansas, we'd always drive back, and it was, we'd come see the family for a couple weeks, and then we'd go back home to wherever we lived. And where it hit me was just driving around Decatur one morning, and it dawned on me that I don't have to go anywhere. Like I don't have to go report back to any place. I don't have to like uh I don't know. It's such a weird feeling. And I can only really I think the only people that can really appreciate it is like people that have been in jail. Like
Yeah,
just the freedom to go out and do something without having to tell somebody else what you're doing. So
yeah,
uh,
yeah. From the outside looking in, you'll never understand it, and from the inside looking out, you'll never be able to explain it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I never, like you mentioned earlier, you didn't, watch the news or didn't want to watch the news. I had to turn the news off in I think it was when we pulled out of Afghanistan. Like that was the month I just said I'm done. I can't because it was just I
Oh
was
yeah,
losing my mind watching that.
all the people and our friends that died, and all the everything that we did, and it's just like, yeah, we saved Afghanistan, right?
Yeah, man. We always knew we were going to leave. It's just how we left. I mean, it was such a just a. I mean,
Yeah,
I could
just
have planned that exit better than any of those guys. I mean, good grief.
yeah, yeah,
But speaking of AI and the whole um, healthcare thing, let me see if I can find it here. Let's get my glasses on. I was looking at this earlier, and I thought, man, this was fascinating idea. It says world's first synthetic biological intelligence runs on living human cells. The world's first biological computer that fuses human brain cells with silicon hardware to form fluid neural networks and has been commercially launched, ushering in a new age of AI technology. One of the things I find fascinating, and it's kind of tied in with this, not not notwithstanding Neuralink and the other companies that are doing all this stuff, but it's this idea of using fungi as they call well they're calling that wetware, but they're using fungi in a kind of in a digital way. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but like
yeah. To create communication pathways. Yeah,
yes, yeah, yeah. And so they're
yeah,
modeling it off of how fungi operate efficiently because they're always going to find the most efficient, route to whatever. But this idea of mixing biology with technology um,
it's like Avatar,
is
man. The way the
yeah.
trees communicate. Yeah. There's a fantastic NPR um, episode that it's called like the trees are talking or the trees or something. It's the trees something, but it goes deep on the fungi and how it there's a whole subterranean communication network. Um, that and that was the emerging science behind that for the fungi. I don't know if you saw it in the news today, but they just announced the first person's going to get that neural transmitter that's going to it's a blind person. And if you've ever been in a Tesla and you see the way that it has the like it shows the silhouettes of the cars around the car and you can see on
Mhm.
the screen like the other vehicles, it works like that. But they're going to implant it in a young girl's head, and it's going to allow her to see the people and objects around her the same way that like when you're in a Tesla and it sees the other cars on the road. And so, we'll enable her to move. She won't be able to see detail, like, if you see with your eyes, but she'll have that awareness of like objects and the spatial awareness, which is pretty fascinating because it'll allow her to move as if she's sighted.
Yeah, that is it's I'm telling you, man. Like I did a presentation a couple of years ago called The Tyranny of the Present. And it's that idea that yeah, you're limited by the technology of the day. And very few people can break this, like I don't know. You go back to like the first Star Wars, that was kind of mind blowing in how they presented space and all that stuff. And then later on, it allowed for that genre to kind of flourish in a new way.
Yeah,
It's but for us thinking outside of the box. So like if you live in 1987 and you're living in that world and you only know that world, you can't even fathom what 1999 is going to look like. So it still looks like science fiction to you.
yeah,
Um, but as you're going to you're not phased by the things because the changes are so incremental. It seems like, and every once in a while, something revolutionary comes out that's kind of like the iPhone, or I don't
Have
know.
you
Think of some other
have
kind
you
of
are you
revolutionary
are you
device.
familiar with Figure? Have you heard of that company, Figure?
Mm-mm, no.
Are you have Twitter, right?
Yep.
Um, I don't know if you can pull it up while we're on this, but pull up Twitter and look up a guy named Brett Adcock, who's the CEO of a company named Figure, and uh, and they're making they're making humanoid robots, um, and they have a partnership right now with BMW where they are now using Figure robots in the factory and have replaced the factory workers with the robots. And they posted a video of it today. It was pretty fascinating to see the Figure robots working in the factory. But yeah, Brett Adcock is the CEO of Figure, and they have the most advanced humanoid robots. Tesla's making one, Figure's making one. There's a couple others, but Figure has probably been the furthest along, and it's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, I see it. Let's see. Turn the video off and let me share. Let's see, share screen. Just gonna do this.
So this is inside the BMW
There
factory.
we go. Is
Um,
this?
and yep, that's it. And they're actually assembling cars on the factory floor. That's one of the videos. There's some other. Um, we've got some other longer videos. That seems like just a little short loopy one, but you get the idea. And you can see the robots, and uh, it's pretty impressive what they're
Yeah,
doing
that's
at home.
crazy. Yeah, in
Uh,
Boston. Yeah, Boston Electronics also is.
the Boston Dynamics, yeah, they've got
They've.
the
I
ones
mean,
that look like
their
dogs,
robots are like doing.
and break
Yeah, well,
dancing,
they're doing
and
that.
yeah,
They've got those like bipedal robots that can do like kung fu and stuff now.
yeah.
And
Have you seen?
I have some older folks that I'm working with. Go
Have you
ahead.
played? Are you familiar with a tool called HeyGen? Have you heard of that?
No, what's it called?
HeyGen, HEYGEN.com. I'm gonna see if I can pull up a
No.
video. I I just let's see if I can share this with you. So I made a
Oh, I think I lost him. Let me see if I can get him back here. Should be able to come right back in. Yeah, guys. Hey, my friend Josh, and we've been friends for over 20 years now, but he literally is a renaissance man. The guy is probably one of the top smartest guys I know. I mean, mind blowingly smart. And he has to be smart. I mean, he's friends with somebody like me. I mean, of course. I'm totally kidding. Um, no, it's been a good it's been a good time, man. It's a long time. His wife is a doctor, just a really amazing family. Uh, and he and I started off in flight school. No, we met in officer basic course, and then flight school, and then from flight school to Korea was first assignment, and then from there we kind of parted ways, and then came back, reconnected. I think about 4 or 5 years later in San Antonio. So we had a good, I don't know, it was a good 5 year break or so before, in between. see if he's trying to reach out to me. Hmm. All right. Well, yeah. It's funny thinking back to the way we used to be and the way we saw the world then, and just how little we knew. Being back then in this world that was still the war on terror, and it was just the way we thought the world was. We thought President Bush was like this amazing president, and he was doing the right thing, and being a patriot was all that, and then it just everything kind of falls apart like the facade. There, did you find it?
Yeah, I found it. Sorry, when I linked out, it like closed the chat window here. Um, See if you can pull. Did that come through in the chat? I just sent a link in the chat. I don't know if you can open it up
I
or
see.
not.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Can I play it?
Yeah, play it. So I made this video. This is what I opened my AI and healthcare talk with, and I was giving a presentation to private medical practice owners from across the country.
All right.
And now I want to preface this. This is not me. This is 100% AI.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a better look. It's a much younger version of you. More handsome, more younger.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good play
something
video.
wonky. Let me see.
The AI overlords are now taking over your computer. It might be just your internet because it's a video. Kind of you're like live and then it's like buffering. I can't hear it. If you're playing it, like wait, I can't hear any audio from it.
Oh yeah, no, it's still playing. And that's crazy.
Yeah, there's no I'm not hearing
That
the
is
audio.
insane.
But
Oh, you're not? You
no,
can't hear
I
me?
don't, yeah, is there a way for it to like broadcast the audio?
For you, I don't know. Um, I mean, it's coming through my speakers, so
Okay. Yeah, finish it. This is where it starts to get more
let me turn
interesting
it on.
here.
Okay. Dude, that's crazy.
I mean,
That
it
is
sounds just
crazy.
like it's my voice, it's my likeness, but it's not me. Isn't it nuts?
But the
And
multiple languages, that's insane.
yeah, Yeah, and you can choose, there's like 200 something dialects that you can choose from in languages, and it'll all you have to do is upload the script, and you can have it say anything. Um,
That is insane. That certainly gives um, credence to this idea that the image of the beast that we see in Revelation 13, that it's going to be able to speak and to talk,
yeah.
and whatever that is, whatever kind of technology that's going to become, whether it's like a holographic image or whatever. Yeah, that is insane.
But I mean, it could, if you think about it, like, let's say AI goes crazy and, it gets out of the box, or, whatever the terms are that they say, when AI is basically no longer under our control, and it has access to, think about every image that you've ever put online of yourself. It's got access to video recordings, it's got your voice, it's got whatever, and it could literally um, become anyone, almost like the Matrix, right? Like Agent Smith, how he could just shapeshift and become other people. Like it's not the
Hmm.
physical version like the Matrix, but it could digitally become anyone that it wants to, right? Assuming that their likeness is online, and that there's recordings somewhere you know, in the cloud of their voice. It could literally become anyone and speak on your behalf and do things. And I mean, it's not too much of a stretch to see how it could get there. We're not too far from that.
And what's crazy is that this is just kind of the beginning. I mean, this technology is still at the kind of the beginning of it. It's not even fully developed yet. I mean, you can see how you're riding home from work or whatever, and somebody FaceTimes you, and you're FaceTiming this person, and in reality, it's like some kind of a deep fake, your wife or kids or whoever, friends,
Yeah. So
and
that that's
man,
that site that I sent you to you, Hey Jen. So
mhm,
now that I've created my AI avatar and it has my voice and my likeness, you know how you can have like a conversation with Chat GPT? You can talk to it. Well, I can now link that up, and it's literally me talking to you, but it's not me talking to you. And you could ask it questions, and I could link it back to, so like you could create one for yourself, link it to your website, and then people could ask your avatar questions, and it would be you answering them questions, and it would be informed and trained using all the data on all the articles that you've ever written on Web 3.10.
yeah. No, I
And you
mean,
could do that.
that's
You could
dude.
do that right now. You could do that right now. It would take you
Churches,
20 minutes to set it up.
churches, churches are doing that now with Jesus, the AI Jesus. Have you seen that?
No,
I'm serious.
I have not
It's
seen
like a
that, but
chat. It's like a chat GPT, but it's Jesus, and people are like talking to this thing like it's really Jesus now. it's it's the most insane thing in the world. Like,
that's
but you know
insane.
what? This is this is like between this digital bank or central bank digital currencies, the push for technology being put into the human body, all of that, man. Like I don't know how you could deny Revelation 13. Just a plain reading of the text, you can't help but see the correlation. I mean, Joe Rogan, of all people on the planet, was reading Revelation 13 on his radio broadcast or whatever, and the guy that he was talking with about, I mean, even Joe Rogan could see like, whoa, like this was written 2,000 years ago. It's talking about the technological capabilities that are now accessible to pretty much everybody in the world these days, or at least every
Yeah.
nation. But there's I don't know, this was 2009 or so when I came across it, but there was this thing called um, the World Sentient Simulation Project or something like that, and it's like this digital Sim City If you remember the game
Mhm.
SimCity,
Yeah.
it's like a SimCity, but it's everybody's digital avatar, like your avatar, my avatar. Anybody that does anything online leaves a digital footprint,
Different.
and their avatars are created as they come online, and then they're plugged into this world. And this is that, and now Purdue University has been the kind of the caretakers for this program. It's been changed. The names have changed a few times, but it's got billions and billions and billions of avatars inside of this digital system that they can war game off of. I mean, continuously. And now they have AI. AI can run every type of scenario, you know, tens of thousands of times, you know, just over and over and over, looking for like, you know, no win scenarios, or what's the best way to win, what's the best way to destabilize this. I
It's
mean,
like a Monte Carlo simulation. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, exactly. And I can't help but think that your avatar is probably leading the revolution there inside of this simulated world. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
The metaverse. It's in the metaverse.
No, the VR stuff is crazy too. Like I played that when I was home, and I mean, I only had it on for like, I don't even know, 30 seconds, and I was already worn out. Like I was just like, I don't know, hitting stuff and chasing stuff, and I was already smoked in 30, like 20 seconds or 30 seconds. I was like done.
Yeah.
But amazing, amazing. Well, brother, man, it's been good talking to you here.
Yeah.
Um,
I've enjoyed it.
hope
It's
you get
fun
to,
to catch up.
yeah, we'll have to do it again. And I was explaining to folks when you cut out there for a second about just, you know, who you were a little bit. You know, you're one of the smartest guys I knew, and your whole family. Love your family. You got a great family, great wife, great kids, and just known you guys forever. And it feels weird. Like I don't see myself as 50. Do you? You're not 50. Am I older than you? I think I'm older than you
You're
by
older
a
than me.
couple.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
46.
yeah. You're still a baby. But I don't feel 50. I know I'm 50, but I don't feel 50. I don't look 50 either, I don't think. Or do I look 50? I don't know.
You don't look 50. Are you dyeing your hair?
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Somebody actually accused me of dyeing my hair. I'm like, I have never dyed my hair. I barely shampoo it. I mean, I don't. You ever seen that meme? And it's like a girl in the grocery store, and there's like she's got 15 different kinds of shampoo, and then the conditioner, and then the pre-conditioner, and then like and then the
Yeah.
guy, it has like one bottle, and it's like it's good
Like
for
two in
hair
one.
shampoo. Yeah, the carpet cleaner, motor oil, it's like got all these different uses,
Yeah.
like industrial strength cleaner and whatever. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
Well,
well,
back
that's
at you,
good.
man. Feel the same way, Pete. You're one of the smartest guys, and we love you and your family, and yeah, all your crazy dogs.
Well, I think we're over that phase. So as time goes on, and if we're still here, whatever, we're just gonna let them. I don't know if we're gonna keep replenishing the pack.
You're
I
gonna
mean, it's
downsize
pretty limited.
from 10 dogs to 5 dogs.
10 to 5, yeah, or maybe 3. Maybe three's a good number. Three's a good number of dogs. I can't even imagine. I
Yeah.
can't even remember not having or having 3 dogs. That seems like a lifetime ago when we only had 3 dogs. But man, it's it's definitely keeps your house interesting, keeps you young. Maybe that's why I look so young. I've got so many dogs and kids that it lets me stay young.
Yes, you do. Yeah. All right, man.
Well,
Well,
all right.
it's great to catch up.
Good catching up with you, man.
All right, we'll
God
see you.
bless you.
Likewise.